In the previous chapter, the four-way confrontation between Julius, Gilbert, Girota, and Toa finally escalated. Back at the waiting area, the audience became excited seeing two major fights about to happen at the same time, wondering which battle they should focus on. Meanwhile, Kurei Carla, Fusue, Xingwu, and several members of both the Kurei clan and the Wu clan arrived on the island after hearing that Gilbert Wu was participating in the tournament. Xing confirmed to Fusue that Edward's soul truly resides within Gilbert, as he had personally fought him before. The scene then shifted back to Julius and Gilbert's fight. Gilbert launched a kick at Julius, which Julius narrowly dodged, though the force behind it still blew him backward. Calling it a puny trick, Julius charged directly at Gilbert, but Gilbert effortlessly stopped his momentum and grabbed him by the head. Gilbert then trapped Julius in a clinch and repeatedly drove knee strikes into his stomach. Watching the exchange, Xing reflected on his battle with Edward, remembering how it took both him and the elite members of the Kurei clan just to barely defeat him. Since Gilbert is Edward's clone, Xing concluded that Gilbert likely possesses the same monstrous strength and abilities. Gilbert then delivered another devastating knee strike that knocked Julius to the ground before mounting him and raining punches down onto his face. While attacking him, Gilbert mocked Julius, calling him nothing more than a strongman who relied on doping to surpass his limits. He then questioned whether Julius truly believed he could stand against a Wu. However, Julius suddenly activated his God-Killer drills and landed a devastating counterattack that blasted Gilbert off of him. Julius reminded Gilbert that he had interrupted his fight with Arashiyama and questioned whether that was truly all he had to offer. The impact tore apart the upper portion of Gilbert's shirt and left visible bruises across his chest. Julius then warned Gilbert to know his place, while Gilbert angrily responded by calling Julius a plebeian. Watching from the sidelines, Carla and Fusue were shocked at how well Julius was holding his own against Gilbert. The chapter then ended with Gilbert slowly standing back up, as Julius asked him if he still wasn't done yet and offered to show him the overwhelming gap in power between them. Today's chapter begins right after Julius asks Gilbert if that's all he's got, demanding that he get back up. Julius then throws a punch, but Gilbert activates removal in his arm and catches the blow, shocking Kurei Carla. Gilbert then fully transforms into his removal state before throwing Julius's arm aside and retaliating with a punch of his own, striking Julius in the face and knocking him down. After landing the blow, Gilbert calls Julius a puny insect, telling him to stop hopping around and stay squashed. Noticing Gilbert's transformation, Carla asks Xing what kind of form that is, pointing out that it doesn't look like a normal Guihun. Xing confirms that she's correct and explains that Edward Wu's Guihun was special, supposedly the closest thing to their founder, Wu Hei, which is the power Gilbert currently wields. The scene then shifts back to the fight, with Gilbert approaching Julius, who is lying on the floor, demanding that he get back up because he's not finished with him yet. Gilbert promises to utterly destroy Julius until there's nothing left of him. Julius quickly gets back on his feet, only to be instantly met with another punch to the face. Gilbert then unleashes a relentless flurry of blows while Julius raises his guard to defend himself. Gilbert briefly pauses his assault, giving Julius an opening to strike back, but Gilbert swiftly dodges to the side and resumes his barrage, this time unleashing the Mount Northstar Eightfold Demolition Fist. Gilbert points out that he just used the Wu clan's ultimate technique and admits that he's irritated he had to waste it on a flesh golem. Surprisingly, Julius slowly rises back to his feet, staggering at first before finally regaining his balance. His resilience shocks Carla, Xing, Fusue, and even Gilbert himself. Julius then asks Gilbert why he stopped attacking and why he didn't finish him off. He admits that he's disappointed in Gilbert, questioning whether he's incapable of doing anything unless it's handed to him on a silver platter. Julius adds that Gilbert must have been sheltered his entire life. He then calls Gilbert immature, claiming that he can't even do violence properly. Gilbert assumes Julius has lost his mind and says he doesn't have time to play around with him. Gilbert attempts to back away, but Julius suddenly lands a devastating punch to his face, visibly deforming it from the impact. Julius then declares that Gilbert is no warrior and tells him to get lost. Gilbert sees another attack coming and raises his guard, but Julius blasts straight through it with his Gottoder Steinbohrer. With that, chapter 354 of Kengan Omega comes to an end. I honestly didn't expect Julius to hold out for this long while also dealing so much damage to Gilbert.
Most surprisingly, he managed to tank Gilbert's ultimate technique even while it was enhanced by Guehun. When Agito faced Julius, he didn't receive any hits from Julius's God Killer drills, which kinda makes Gilbert look weaker in comparison.
I assume Gilbert is not fighting seriously, but still he's kinda pushing his luck with these mistakes. Watching Julius endure all of these attacks honestly reminded me of Hanayama, who is also incredibly durable and capable of taking absurd amounts of punishment before getting back up. The main difference between them is that Julius actively blocks attacks, while Hanayama usually takes them head-on without defending himself. I was a bit confused when Gilbert suddenly decided to back away despite previously being excited and eager to fight both Jirota and Julius. My guess is that the hit he took from Julius' God-Killer drills genuinely scared him, forcing him to become more cautious. He probably wants to remain as healthy as possible so he won't be at a disadvantage when he eventually faces Ryan. What's surprising, though, is that Gilbert is still extremely arrogant. He clearly believes his strength alone is enough to put Julius down, even after Julius has proven to be a very troublesome opponent. His arrogance already cost him once when he took that first God-Killer drills hit, and now it's cost him again because he underestimated just how resilient Julius really is. There's a good chance Gilbert partially blocked the latest attack, but even then, he's definitely going to take major damage from that blow. The information about Gilbert's Guehun was also really interesting, especially the reveal that it originated from the founder of the Wu clan. That likely explains why Gilbert can control the output throughout different parts of his body. However, even though his Guehun is essentially identical to Edward's, Gilbert hasn't used it nearly as effectively. If I remember correctly, when Edward used Guehun against Xing, Ryan, and Iryo, he completely overwhelmed all of them. Even without activating Guehun, Edward was still dominating the fight with ease. Gilbert, meanwhile, seems to be genuinely struggling to put Julius down. If Edward had been the one fighting Julius, I think he would have performed much better and probably wouldn't have gotten hit by the God-Killer drills at all. He most likely would have already ended the fight, though he probably would have toyed around while doing it. To be fair to Gilbert, though, Julius is one of the most durable fighters in the series. We already saw him shrug off a kick from Gilbert that likely would have knocked out most other fighters. Right now, I think it's pretty clear that Edward was superior to Gilbert in almost every way. Honestly, though, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It would be pretty lame if Gilbert was simply a weaker copy of Edward with nothing unique about him. The fact that Gilbert hasn't lived up to Edward's standards could actually become strong motivation for him to eventually surpass Edward and grow into his own person instead of just being a replacement. I really hope Gilbert survives his eventual encounter with Ryan, unites the Westward faction, and becomes a major villain who is actually taken seriously in the story. If he just dies to Ryan, then his entire existence would feel wasted, similar to what happened with Fei Wangfeng. Gilbert has the potential to make the story far more interesting, so I hope Sandro handles his character well moving forward. Honestly, I still think there's a possibility that Gilbert could end up killing Ryan in their eventual fight, which would be a huge shock if it actually happened. But for now, we'll just have to wait and see where the story goes in the upcoming chapters. We still haven't seen Toa vs Jirota properly begin yet either, so hopefully it doesn't happen off-screen and instead starts in the next chapter. How long do you think Julius will last against Gilbert, and what are your thoughts on this chapter overall? Also, let me know your expectations for the upcoming Jirota vs Toa fight. That's all I have for today, so I'll see you all in the next chapter of Kengan Omega. Until next time, have a good day or night.